Hey, good morning. We're going to be talking about Celebrate Freedom, the Bill of Rights this time. So why am I learning? Again, I want to identify the intent, or what am I learning? Sorry. The intent, the reason, the meaning, what it means, and the importance, why is it important, of the Bill of Rights. Why is the Bill of Rights important to us? Why did they write it, and what's the meaning? So why are you learning it? Because it's an important part of American history. Okay, and it still affects us today. How will I know that I learned it? How will you know that you learned it? Well, you will be able to tell me the reason why they wrote it, what it means, and why it's important. Okay? So let's get into it. So as you remember, there was the Declaration of Independence. The United States separated from England by the bad treatment of King George, or the unfair treatment, what they thought was the unfair treatment of King George in England with them. So they decided to separate and they started the Revolutionary War. So after that, they became independent, and the 13 original colonies became known as the United States of America. So they created the Constitution. And we read the preamble, which states, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." So in short, they created the Constitution to form a perfect union, a better union than what they had, to make sure that there was justice, to make sure that there was peace, that there was common defense, they were protected, to promote the general welfare, make sure that all the citizens or the people living in the country will do well, and to secure liberty, to make sure that everybody had freedom for themselves and their children, posterity. So that's why they established the Constitution. So let's move on. So after the Constitution, they realized, you know what? It's not perfect. And, things cannot be perfect because we're human. Humans are never perfect. So in March 4, 1789, the United States officially adopted the United States Constitution. So we created a free nation. The Constitution basically are the instructions for how we're going to run this country. So it created the Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, and if you want to pause to look at the diagrams, you're going to find out that the Constitution separates the legislative power, executive power, and judicial power. And the legislative is also separated in two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate, where the executives got the president and vice president being the most important positions, and that the judicial system has the Supreme Court as the top guys there. If you pay attention to this one, it tells you what it does. Legislature makes laws, the executive enforces the laws or makes the laws happen, and judiciary interprets the law. They tell you if the law is right or if the law is wrong or fair, and if it meets with the Constitution. So let's move on. So they did notice that it worked better than the Articles of Confederation, which was the previous, if you say, Constitution before. But they noticed that they needed to make some changes. So, needing 2/3 of the votes from both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, changes to the Constitution could be made in the form of amendments. Amendments means change or correction. So yeah, they made this document, but then they figured, we gotta find a way to make changes if we need to, because sometimes things change. So that's why they decided to make sure to put a way to make amendments or changes. So the first 10 amendments or changes to the Constitution were passed in 1791, and they are known as the Bill of Rights. The 10 amendments are included in the Bill of Rights, allow the following rights and freedoms to the Americans. So pay attention, because those gives us our rights and our freedoms. So amendment number 1 gives us freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. Freedom of press. We can write whatever we want. Freedom of assembly. We can meet together whenever we want. And the right to protest. The right to say we're not happy with what you guys, the government, is doing. So we have those rights. The second amendment gives us the right to have weapons, to bear arms. And that was given, I need to go back, sorry. The reason they would give this is because when they were with King George, they didn't have the freedom to say whatever they want, to write whatever they want, to meet whenever they want, or to say that, hey, King George, you're doing something wrong. So those were written there because they didn't want to have what happened to them before happen again. So the reason that they gave the Second Amendment the right to have arms is because when King George was king of the 13 colonies, he would take away their weapons so they couldn't protect themselves or fight. So they decided to make this amendment so if they thought the government was unjust or unfair, they would have the right to fight or to protect themselves. The Third Amendment says that soldiers cannot take over a home during war or peace without the homeowner's permission. What does that mean? Well, during the time of King George and the Revolution, or right before the Revolution, King George said, the United States or the 13 colonies want to separate from England. I'm not going to let that happen. So he started sending soldiers. And what they would do is they would put the soldiers inside your house. Imagine that they would put them inside your house, and you would have to feed them, and you would have to provide for them and stuff like that. And you have to think about that. I don't think that was very fair, and they didn't like it, so that's why they decided to put that. It's like, you can't put soldiers in my house if I don't give you permission. The Fourth Amendment protects Americans from unreasonable and unlawful search and seizure of property. What does that mean? Well, that means that the government cannot just stop you and start patting you down like they're doing this guy here, or search you without a reason. There's got to be reasonable and lawful. There's got to be a reason for that to happen, and it's got to be under the law. They can just grab you and start searching you. The Fifth Amendment allows all citizens due process. That means the right for a trial if you're accused, and states that a person cannot be forced to serve as a witness against himself when accused of a crime. So if somebody is accusing you of you doing something, you have the right, and you probably have heard that, you have the right to remain silent. That means you don't have to talk, you don't have to say anything. Okay? If you say anything, that could be used to make you guilty, or can be used against you. So they gives you that right. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Either way, either for your innocence or for, well, I mean, they would be really dumb if you said, yes, I messed up and did it. It is honest, great. But if you're being accused of something you didn't do, then I don't know how to take this. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I just confused it. Basically, if someone accuses you, you have the right to not say anything, so they don't use it against you. You don't have to talk. So let's say you did mess up, you did something wrong, and someone's accusing you, you could remain quiet. And instead of saying I did it, or instead of saying no, I didn't do it and lie, you could just be quiet. That's the best way I can put it. I don't know if I can explain it better. I hope you understand this one. The Sixth Amendment tells you that you can have a trial, speedy, a fast trial, and public trial, so people can see it, just to make it fair, by a jury. A jury is a group of people that will decide whether you're guilty or innocent of whatever you're accused of. The Seventh Amendment, trial by jury. Before it was like the king would decide who was guilty or not. In this case, it's not going to be the king. They choose people like you or me. So in your case, let's say you were accused of something because you're a little kid, they would choose little kids to judge you. And this is just hypothetical, or like an imagine if that were to happen. This is what happens with adults. When we adults make something wrong or get accused of a crime, they select people. They select other adults to listen to the trial, listen to the evidence, and decide whether one is guilty or not. The Eighth Amendment prevents those accused of suffering cruel and unusual punishment. So if you commit a crime, then you're going to get punished. But they made this law so they wouldn't suffer cruel and unusual punishment. So it's like if they wouldn't hang you, they wouldn't put you in a little stockade like this one. Basically they would make sure that the punishment fits the crime and that it wasn't going to be cruel and strange or weird. Okay, so the Ninth Amendment states that no one's rights should be used to infringe upon the rights of another citizen. That means that your rights and my rights are the same. My rights are not bigger or better than your rights, and if your rights begin to make my rights be less, then that cannot happen. We all have the same rights, basically. That's what this one should be saying. This one says, and that you cannot use your rights to destroy, I guess it would be a word, or make my rights be less than your rights. All our rights are equal. And the 10th Amendment provides each state with powers that are not specifically assigned to the nation's government in the Constitution. So they make these rules that, okay, this is what the government can or cannot do, and whatever rules did not fall under that, they're open. Those are for the states to decide what to do or how to do things. So just think about it like the rules in our class or our agreement. We have an agreement of this is what we can do or not do here in our class, but then you also have decisions that you can make on your own, and you don't have to ask for permission and things like that. Like when you have your menu, you decide which thing you're gonna do first, sort of. Within the menu, you have choice. So that's the case. We have a general rule over the entire United States, but every state has a little independence, and they can choose some certain rules that only works for themselves because they're not written in the bigger rule, the rules that apply for everybody. I guess that makes it a little bit clearer. So, can you answer the following questions? What is the Bill of Rights? Why do you think they wrote them? And why is that important to us today? You can talk with your partner, discuss it, and remember to write the answers to these questions in your social studies journal. And then we'll talk about it. Have a good one.